Okay, I have 10 o'clock. I will call the Harrison County Commission meeting for Wednesday, May the 7th, 2025 to order. If you would rise and join us in the invocation and pledge, please.
Father, some 2,000 years ago, Thomas said, "My Lord and my God." 5 words, Lord. He said to you upon seeing you after your death on the cross. Lord, we too believe that you are Lord in our lives here on earth. You are God, our Heavenly Father, one no different from the wind, Lord. We can feel it, but we can't see it. We know you too are present in our lives in the Holy Spirit, reaching every one of our hearts and strength. We praise you and we glorify you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there anyone signed up? Okay. Is there anybody on Zoom that wishes to speak publicly? Anyone on Zoom wish to speak publicly? Hearing none, we will move to number 2, consent agenda. What's the pleasure? Motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 3, payroll change notices, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H.
Madam President, I wish to make it B, C, and D, and G.
Okay,
I will vote on those.
what's that? I'm sorry. Yours was,
A,
okay. I did.
out. And E, F, H, out. That's my motion. And I'll just go ahead and let you know, I want to apologize to the citizens of Harrison County and my fellow commissions. But due to possible legal and other issues, I must recuse myself from voting on matters concerning the Sheriff's Department and anything about employment and finances. So if you wish me to vote on those, I will. And as to the Sheriff's Department, I will be recusing myself. The county attorney has been made very quick. So it's how you'd like to proceed.
Okay, wait a minute. You just smacked me right in the side of the face. So I haven't really digested what you just said. So you are going to recuse yourself from anything dealing with the sheriff's office
Employment
vote,
and-
employment.
Anything that has to do with financial issues.
Okay.
So if you wish me to vote.
Is that
on
a-
the others? The commissioner, under the statutory framework, he has the ability to do that. I think 7.5.
Okay.
So I think.
I'm not questioning.
Commissioner Treecroft could have been disposed to make it a. Or maybe take out a E, F, H. That's up to you all to decide. If you wish me to vote on it, if not, that's fine. I'll recuse myself from being payroll change lists.
What do you want him to recuse himself from those? I mean, what do you think, Commissioner Treecroft? You want to recuse yourself and in the room, you can. Okay, so your motion is to approve A through H, correct?
Right,
Okay.
an administrator understands that the 2 promotions will be July 1st.
Well, then we need to
We
make
need to
that part
take
of,
those.
we need to make that part of the motion because
Okay.
according to these
Make
payroll,
E and F effective. Like, Not May 10th, but
Wow.
July 1st. Because they're not in the budget until that, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Now,
Just E and F or July 1st or like they.
No, just. Because the others are in the budget.
no, H is not in the budget.
So
This is the one we discussed before and we prolonged it.
A is in the
Am I cor-
budget.
A is already, they have,
A is in the budget.
okay, that's what, that's.
E and F are in the budget for the next fiscal year, so it would be effective June 25th for that new pay period that goes into the first fiscal year. And as for H, that was our discussion from last meeting, which as commission requested, I met with the sheriff and we talked about that. And I let him know that, you know, it's our goal to work towards higher deputy pay. And we couldn't do both.
Okay. So H, I mean, it is not in next year's budget, so we need to decide what we're gonna do with H. Because we would have to fund that position because it is not in the budget. And I mean, my personal feelings are, let's take it off and see what happens. And
I guess I'll just.
unless you've got something you talked to the sheriff about that we need to know.
No, so the thing I talked to the sheriff about is the same. So H, a process position is in the budget along the lines of, we weren't sure when this individual was going to retire, that
Okay.
previously retired.
So it is there. So I misspoke.
But with that, we talked about taking that salary because we weren't sure when that person was going to retire and using that to try to increase deputy salaries. So that was the conversation, to use that salary for that.
And the thoughts of the sheriff regarding that?
It has not changed. He wants both. He wants a process position, he wants deputies salaries, and I explained that it felt like we couldn't go back on our word. Because that's what we talked about in budget time.
Okay. So what is your motion?
So I'll make that. For individual and have, should be promoted for effective pay July 1st.
And are you gonna include H in your,
Right. If you want to separate it, I respect that. If you want to make.
no, you don't need to say, you don't need to separate it.
Separate. Great job.
But I mean, okay,
Want to do that?
no, I don't think we need to do that. There's not necessarily separated, is it?
I think it could help clarify the record.
Okay,
Separate.
Yeah.
okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and make motion A through G, please. With the. Word. Have a second vote. To approve H.
Okay, so the motion is to approve A through G with the E and F not being effective till July of 25.
But as far as I'm concerned, the sheriff has all the right role to promote them. If their pay scale will change, not change until July 1st.
Right. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, none, motion carried. Okay.
I'll call the question on it.
I just have to say, I just hate to go back on this because we made a decision, but here we are. All in favor signify by saying aye for, okay, for H.
Aye.
Aye. But this needs to definitely be revisited next fiscal year, or we need to keep an eye on this. Okay. I don't like it, but I don't know that I have a choice because it's already in the budget and we didn't know when the other person was retiring. But people go back on their words. Okay. We get Mr. Hinkle. So make sure there's nothing left. $10.05 special funding request from Stonewood Volunteer Fire Department requesting $3,000 for the third annual Stonewood Firefighters Festival. Is anybody here? Is there someone on Zoom from Stonewood concerning this matter?
Madam President, without being president, I still make the motion that it not be $3,000.
The motion has been made to approve the $3,000 for the Stonewood Volunteer Fire Department's third annual Stonewood Firefighters Festival. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. 1010, special funding request from the town of West Milford requesting $3,000 for their Old Mill and Float the Fort Festival. And I believe Mr. Barnhart is on Zoom.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
All right. Good morning. Thank you for having us again. And we're back. This is our 4th year for the Float to Fort and the Old Mill Festival. So we come again asking for support of $3,000 for the 2-day festival. It's Friday, May 30th, Saturday, May 31st. And looking at pre-registrations for the float on Saturday, we're up to 21 right now. And I know the furthest one coming in is from Colorado. So this continues growing, and we appreciate any and all support from you.
motion to approve $3,000 for the Float the Fort Festival and Oak Mill Festival. Is there any discussion?
Is this, Jeff, is this like, how many times you all done this?
It's our 4th year.
4th year? On some of these, we've just built them into the budget, so something that we want to look at with them and Stonewood going forward.
No, because this is gonna go just like the Blackberry Festival, like Sparkford City Park. That we got to careful that we go ahead. I mean, we could always build them in, David, if you'd like to, and I'm for that, but at the same time. Festivals coming up.
Yeah, but if they don't come in and request it, I'm just, I know we have a request.
But then what happens if you miss one?
Correct.
Like the Frank Gloria.
Yeah, when we have something that has a list of, but we just automatically set aside for funding.
You can visit next year.
Okay.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried.
Thank you.
Number 4, minutes and or amended minutes of previous meetings, A through D. What's the pleasure? Motion to approve number 4A through D. Is there any discussion?
Like to add to that motion as presented.
Okay, is that okay as presented? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 5, requisition purchase orders invoices A through F.
Madam President, there were 2 duplicates on the requisition list. I would just like to point out a duplicate for Woodford Oil in the amount of $1,100 and a duplicate for Park Superstore for $52.95. So with taking that out, I just wanted to clarify for the record that the new total, grand total is 1.2, 1,274, 393.24.
Motion approved.
Motion to approve with the correction stated by the county administrator. Is there any discussion?
Yes, ma'am, I just would like to point out that the ARPA we received was $13,064,690. To date, we have distributed $6,057,100. And Greater Harrison, Salem, Sun Valley, Epsilon, West Milford, and we still have outstanding money that drawn, as long as the money that we've set aside for animal control or.
I have questions concerning the cruisers and the bidding process. Do we not have to follow what's the reason we don't follow our bidding? Because it's over $15,000. Is that correct?
It is, we reached out to Trey for clarification due to us losing so many cruisers in the vehicle accidents. There's been a total of 5 that we've lost in the past year. That's why with these 5, we were able to just get quotes. And I noted them on the requisition after your question came up. So that allows us to not have to. Pay them.
I mean, I don't have an issue.
And Susan and Patsy, I would like to point out that you have spent $1.3 million on cruisers without bids.
I understand that, David, but I want to start, we need to get back on track with this. That's why I'm bringing this up. No, it's not, David. It has nothing to do with what,
We
what,
were willing to spend 1.3 million with statewide Lincoln Ford in Ohio and never questioned the bids. We are now to buy cruisers in West Virginia for the first time in 4 years. And now.
I guarantee you, I have questioned it before. There's no doubt in my mind, but it's time to bring it up.
So
I mean, if
here
that's
are the
what,
invoices.
I-
Here's copies of them.
I'm just, that's where
I actually agree with Commissioner Hicks.
I do too. I do
I've
too.
been talking about this for 6 years, and
But I think, I just want to know what, because
No.
sometimes it's okay to do it and sometimes it's not.
No.
I just think we need to get on track and do
I don't
do the-
disagree, but
do
we
it.
need
all the time.
cruisers. This is the first time we've actually given somebody in West Virginia the opportunity.
No, I don't think it's the first time. No, I would disagree. For cruisers, yes, for cruisers.
But you're actually right. My question is, how come I'm in year 7, people were talking about something I've been complaining about since day 1?
Well,
That's where I don't get happen. I don't understand what happens with this commission.
I don't
bring
either.
this Stuff up and then all of a sudden somebody else brings it up like it's the new, a light bulb went off their head.
No, the light bulb's
Virginia for
going
6
on.
years.
You're. Okay,
And
so.
I 100% agree with Commissioner President, Mark. I don't crap if they wreck that on. Bid it out properly. David's right, Susan's right, and I've been right for 6 years on this one.
Well, Commissioner Tree Cost, until recently, we couldn't get the correct information out of the sheriff's department. We could not go out for bid because we were never told what equipment was required. We were always just given a blanket for a cruiser with equipment. And that did not allow other entities to bid. Finally, the information became available so that a local and state could actually bid, and saved us over $3,000 a cruiser, cheaper than what we paid last year for cruisers from the same company. And I just find it amazing that now that we're saving money, that everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon when we need cars. for the
That
sheriff's
has
department.
nothing to do with it, David. Nothing. It has,
Let's
I'm
just
glad,
buy 'em from
I-
Ohio.
no, I don't want to buy them from, but I don't why, then, so what you're saying is we just call around and get prices. We don't follow, then let's change our policy.
It's always been, they called around and said there was only.
Well, then we need to
one
change this
bid
policy.
per-
That's my point. That's my point. That's,
Just saying. Well, good, because maybe if other people took the time, to figure out how to save us some money once in a while, and I'm not pointing fingers at anywhere. But I've been trying to bring this cruiser thing to a head for years and could never get the information, because we've always.
That's
did
not
know
us,
what We
though.
paid for
it's not
cruisers.
us.
I don't know who you've been trying to work with, because I've been saying this for a long time. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, on May 7th, 2025, you're saying something that I've been talking about for years. And quite frankly, as far as buying out of Harrison County for everything we do, I question that. Engineers, architects, cruisers. I mean, we can't buy black at Virginia Law. We got to order that online.
And I had several questions on Parks and Recs, but those have been answered, but I think some of these people need to be watching their budgets. And the lines, learn where they take their money
If you want
from.
me to amend my motion, take those 5 cruisers out and put them out bid correctly, I absolutely will.
No, not this time, but please, can we figure out something in the future?
Yeah.
So we're not visiting this again?
Our guys, unfortunately, and young ladies, we're at 5 cars in 5 days. That's part of doing business. I want. I mean, we got an army out there. Remember, we're twice the size of any sheriff's department in the state of West Virginia.
Amen.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
I
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Okay. Number 6, it looks like it's just exonerations, and is that correct on Exhibit A?
That is correct, Madam President.
Okay. What's the pleasure? Motion to approve 6A, exonerations. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 7, consideration of approval of a project fund requisition for the payment of costs associated with the project to be financed from proceeds of the Series 2019 bonds issued for the Charles Point Economic Opportunity Development District Series 2021 A and B, Development District Number 3, White Oaks Project Number 2, and Series 2008A, Charles Point Project Number 2, Northland Bay Improvements, A and B. What's the pleasure? Motion to approve 7A and B. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 8, review, discuss, consideration of adoption of a resolution and order which would rescind prior resolution of the commission directing correction of CED assessment billing in 2023 tax tickets for properties located at Charles Point Development. Motion has been made to take no action on this item because of,
Say that action taken by the capital state of West Virginia by the auditor's office.
Okay.
Instead of those 21 tax days.
as action that was taken April 25th by the auditor to suspend, correct? Okay, is there any discussion?
Yes, ma'am, I make a motion to adopt 8 as presented by legal for the county and for the bonds. And that we accept this resolution and maintain the tickets on the sale.
Okay, the motion is to adopt the resolution.
Yes, sir, you can. Both our attorneys and the bondholder recommended. I have letters from Hisman, Foreman, and Donovan that have tried to imply and accuse our assessor of erroneous calculations that they reported to the auditor's office. And I don't think the auditor's office was given the proper information. And I'm appalled that the taxpayer would hire his law firm to go around Harrison County to get the tax tickets removed. And I think that that shows that there must be something that's concerning for them. And I think we need to go ahead and sell the property as originally intended by the Sheriff's Collection Office of Taxes and by what our attorneys say. And I will defer to any other questions to legal that's here today. And legal, it should be online to discuss this.
Let me set this, with those, what we're doing today, with those 41 tickets. Are we also going to go ahead and do the other tickets that were redeemed and I'm going to put them that one, so we just should individual, or we would just have this one individual. Let's do it with many more than that 41. So we're going to do them all. We're just going to go ahead and just do the one for Genesis.
The only ones that were returned to us by the auditors that I know of is Genesis.
All right, so there's a certified group of tickets that.
You seem to be privileged to something that I have not been given.
What's my privilege? I still online the daughter's page.
So can you go over who those other individuals are, please? What's public information?
All I did was what's far you. You know, not something that everybody in the world can't see.
Laura, would you please, is there something else that's been mailed from the auditor's office to us? on the removal of taxes to be sold or property to be sold at tax sale 15th, other than Genesis.
The only thing that I have is, the letter we got the other week or last week on April 25th. From David Cole, removing those 21 statements. And then, we got an email yesterday. It was given to us yesterday that an Angela Bruce from the state auditor's office was again, as per Mr. Cole's letter, please suspend the attached 41 certificates, certifications for CED and TIF corrections. Our office dismissed the 41 certifications, which removed them from the land sale being held on Thursday, May 15th, 2025.
So if I understand our agenda item and the resolution only concerns Genesis, and if Mr. Treecost would like to set up for somebody else to be on the agenda at some point concerning their property taxes, I'd be more than happy to hear about it at that time, but this is a resolution that states for the tax sale to go for Charles Genesis Corporation and nobody else. So let's don't drag other people into an agenda item that's not on the agenda.
Madam President, would you please ask council to identify themselves so we can talk to them and have a conversation?
Mr. Amon, are you on Zoom?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, Tommy, Patsy, how are you?
Hey, Patsy. I'm well.
Hey, Tom, let me ask you something. I'm trying to figure this out. We're trying to help the bondholder, right? Because he's asked us to do something.
I can't hear you as well as Susan. Did the first part where you said something about the bondholder?
He's asked us to do something on behalf of the commission.
So he's directed that the bondholder's desire is that the tax sale proceed as planned.
Okay, now Tommy, you've been able to talk to this individual?
Yes.
Okay, because we've reached out to him. You know, I remember once when we knew that the interstate property, which was worth $14 million, he wanted that concession. And then we reached out to him to discuss whether that would be significant, to help these negotiations go forward. And we weren't able to get a hold of him. And, we've even invited him to a meeting and he's never came. And I mean, quite frankly, I wouldn't know this gentleman if he walked in the room right now. But he wasn't receptive to meeting with us when the $14 million piece of property was, conceded. Did you ever talk to him about, was that good enough?
So he's taken the position that he's not licensed in West Virginia, and therefore he feels for that reason he can't appear before the county commission or be present at county commission proceedings. So we have had discussions with him outside of that context, but he doesn't feel comfortable participating in meetings.
So he doesn't feel comfortable participating in a meeting when he asked Genesis, that's in Harrison County in the heart of North Central West Virginia, to concede a piece of property worth $14 million. Was he receptive to communicating with us when they conceded a $4 million piece of property at the new hospital area?
This have to do with the resolution at hand. This doesn't.
Well, what
have
it has to
anything-
do
Doesn't
with it-
have anything to do with the resolution that we're here to approve today, whether to collect taxes or not.
What absolutely does,
It
because
does not.
it absolutely does,
How?
because this gentleman has failed to communicate with our tax office, with us as a commission.
That's your opinion.
No, it's not in my opinion. Susan, have you ever seen this gentleman?
No.
Okay. Anybody in this room ever seen Mr. Oka?
Mr. Treecost, your attorneys talk to people that you never see.
Okay, well, let me ask you
I'm
this.
just asking you a question.
No,
I don't think you can answer that.
I've never had to have.
I'm frankly, I'm not sure why
You're an
this,
attorney.
I'm not sure why all of this is even necessary. I
Well,
mean,
let me tell you why it's necessary, Tom.
yeah,
One of our developments in Harrison County that's created $80 million worth of infrastructure for us, created thousands of jobs, doubled the size of one of our cities. This gentleman has put demands on us from every angle for the people we represent at Genesis. because they are in Harrison County, sir. They've taken away everything they could from them, from their construction contingency fund, and then demanded them to extend the road with their own money. They never communicated with us with any of that because we asked, who are you to demand that? Yet today here they are demanding that we go against what the West Virginia State Auditor has already taken off the books and what our tax division across the street at Harrison County Courthouse has taken off the books. So who is this gentleman that nobody knows or has ever communicated with us to tell us to go against the state auditor when we cannot supersede the state auditor anyway? We don't have the authority to supersede state, nor does the state have the authority to supersede federal.
So the county has no reason to believe that the auditor's action is in accordance with state law. So this tax sale, so this situation has come to fruition, and it was something that was contemplated as a possibility for many, many years. And so the bondholder has come to the table several times in the past to try to avoid this situation. There was restructuring of the bonds that was done in 2012 to provide the developer with relief. There was the bondholder started deferring once that relief had passed and the assessments once again came due. There were a series of forbearances that the bondholder agreed to in 17 through 22 to defer collection of all those assessments. There was also an additional $50 million investment that this investor made in the Charles Point development after the defaults on the 2008 bonds and after the restructure and after the forbearances, where they invested another $50 million in this community, all along with the understanding that there was a public-private partnership and everyone, including the bondholders, was at the table with Genesis and the county trying to work through all these issues so that they could realize repayment of their investment and the developer would get the benefit of that investment and be able to continue their development. And so, but in 2023, the forbearance wasn't renewed. So the result of that was that those prior assessments all came due, and we all know that there was an error in billing of those assessments. So really only the 23 was billed. And so that brings us to today, where we have 2023 only CED assessments and property taxes that remain unpaid. There's been no information submitted to the county commission, at least that I've been made aware of, to lead the commission to believe that there are any kind of errors or discrepancies with respect to the tax increment revenues as stated in the auditor's letter. We are aware of the mistake in the billing of the CED assessments. However, if there's a party that's prejudiced by that, it's the bondholder. It's not the county, it's not the developer, it's not anyone else. So but despite of that, the bondholder would like to see the sale proceed for just the 23 assessments, even though the 17 through 22 that they bargained for are not on there. So what basis would the county have or the auditor have to not have that move forward? We're just not aware of any.
Okay, Tommy, what you're saying, I disagree with, because I don't believe that we can supersede the state, but that's like we've talked, you know, you have your opinion, I have mine. I can read what 11A215 says about delinquent properties. But at the same time, let me ask you this. What you're asking us to do today, though, would essentially be then, the three of us, to break West Virginia Code 11A-32, which says that we have to give a 30-day notice to inform property owners that they are delinquent. Now, being so, it's May 7th and May 15th is in 8 days. How would we do that? And even if we do that, we're directing our staff to break state law. And as far as that's concerned, we have no authority as a commission over the sheriff's office because this tax office falls under him. And under 11A-344, the sheriff has to notify the property owner at the address on record within 30 days of any liens on that property. So we essentially are being asked today to vote against West Virginia state law legislation signed by the governor.
No. So my understanding of the situation is that the sheriff's tax office and the auditor's office have gone through the appropriate protocols and notices to the taxpayer to set the tax sale for the 15th. And there's nothing inhibiting that proceeding to move forward other than the intervention of the taxpayer saying that there are discrepancies in the tax bills, and therefore the auditor then makes the unilateral decision without conferring with the county commission to pull those properties from the sale, based upon not asking the county about any of these discrepancies, or MuniCap, who's the professional administrator of this district that reviews these tax collections and billings and has been doing so since the inception of the district. They're not, to my knowledge, they're undertaking a due diligence review of the tax billings and application of those monies. They're telling the commission that they're not seeing any discrepancies. So the auditor unilaterally, without consulting with MuniCap, the county, or to my knowledge, anyone else involved with the county with respect to this, decides to send out that letter suspending the tax sale. Now, we don't believe there's any basis in law for that. So that hence the action here today.
Well, maybe what you said is true. And I will say that maybe it is true while I disagree. However, the one thing I do know that's the hiccup in this is one, Charleston does not have this going out to sell from the Capitol's office, nor does our tax office have this prepared to go out for sale on May 15th. Therefore, being so, it's May 7th, we cannot legally do it. And I'm sorry, sir, the law is the law, and you can say whatever happened, but as of right now on May 7th, we have nothing to issue from our tax office, and we have the support, not the support, but the opinion of Charleston, West Virginia, and our state auditor to go ahead and suspend these tickets. Now, you're asking me as a commissioner to supersede something in Charleston, which I do not have the authority to do. And quite frankly, would be illegal.
Tom, I have a question for Mr. Treecost. I would like to know who's advised him legally that what he is saying would make us in violation of the state law.
I just brought up West Virginia Code 11A-3-2.
Are you an attorney, sir?
Well, David.
I'm asking you a question. You're trying to state law. I'm asking if you're an attorney and can interpretate the law.
Well, David.
Can we get this wrapped up so we can?
No, ma'am,
have a vote,
because
please?
I
would
think
like-
it needs to be brought again that it's Genesis. If you look, Genesis started 2 months ago trying to skirt this commission and the tax office. There are emails that show that they went to Charleston to get these tax tickets pulled without any acknowledgement to this county. Then they go straight to the auditor's office. You all have the copy where they try to put the blame on this gentleman over here who's an elected official that never talked to anybody and said he didn't know what he was doing for a job. So now why would I take anything that the auditor's office has to say at face value, Commissioner Treecost, when they are blaming a county official why these tickets were wrong and not calculated right based upon information that the taxpayer supplied the auditor, not this commission, not the tax office of this county. They supplied it and they asked for it to get pulled. So maybe we should be wondering why the auditor's pulling tax tickets without any conversation with this county and this commission. That ought to bother the hell out of everybody in this room. How you can call the auditor's office, say whatever you want, because it's right here. Their attorney sent it, and then turn around and say we shouldn't have a tax sale. Then every taxpayer in this county should be picking the phone up and calling the auditor's office and saying, we don't know what we're doing. And if you've got something up for sale, according to Mr. Treecoff, get it pulled tomorrow because you shouldn't have to pay your taxes. And that's what this is all about, somebody paying their property tax,
Okay.
nothing else.
I think you two have said your piece. We need to.
I have one additional thing to add, two additional things to add. One is that this action is up for consideration by the commission today to protect the county commission. Because if the county commission doesn't do everything in its power to exert whatever influence it has in this situation over the sheriff's tax office and the auditor to follow through with the sale pursuant to state law, the bondholders have, in my mind, are going to be very aggrieved and very damaged by the actions of pulling this property from the sale. I can't speak for them as to what action they may or may not take, but it's not going to be a good situation for the county commission. And so that's why the action today. The second thing is I just got off the phone with the bondholder's attorney during the meeting, and I can tell you that for whatever it's worth, given the situation, I don't have all the details because, again, this was under discussion in the meeting, and I wasn't able to focus on exactly what he was saying. But there may be some sort of a forbearance arrangement that can be reached with respect to the assessments to allow a discussion of restructuring the bonds to move forward. Again, I need to get more details of that, but there could be a forbearance of the CED assessments consistent with what has occurred in the past to allow the restructure discussions to move forward and potentially get something done with that. So that's just an additional piece of information that as a part of what the actions the county is considering.
We agree, Madam President, and I'll finish real quick as I know you're ready to move on. One, Tommy, I appreciate you letting us know that. At the same time, I would like to remind you that we're at the midnight hour and it wasn't us that drug our feet. The bondholders had years and years to help us with this, even though every year for 3 years, the formula was sent in differently for the CED assessment. And I also will remind you that you're worried about the bondholder that would have to use Google Maps to find us to work against somebody that's created thousands of jobs and created millions of dollars of infrastructure for us with unlimited further potential. That's what you're asking us to do, to take the side of somebody that doesn't even know who we are or where we're at, rather than Genesis, who's done everything they can to help West Virginia, North Central West Virginia grow.
I'm just suggesting that the county should honor its commitments.
I'm suggesting that maybe if he wanted us to honor his commitments, maybe he should have come to us before this year, when he's known was questions in this for years, but yet he wouldn't return our phone call, nor would he come in our presence. We've invited, as you know, invited and invited and invited. We've even got an economic team that's asked and asked and asked. He has done everything he can to look down on us as if we don't know what we're doing. And now today, with all the concessions that have been made by Genesis, which have been in the millions of dollars, is still now looking to absolutely take property from us so that outside people can have it rather than hometown people that have developed this county for 80 years.
I'm asking the commission to decide on for itself This is the arrangement that was bargained for in 2008. The bills come and due. The question is the county going to honor its obligations or is it not? This bondholders invested $80 million in this community. This was a result that was bargained for if those CED assessments were not paid. The bills come due. It's time to ante up. Is this county going to honor its obligations or not?
And to add to that, Susan, I'm sorry, but 2 years ago, Mr. Treecost and you and I gave Genesis another bite at the apple at the last minute, the night before the sale. We forbade the taxes. And this commission then said we would never do it again. And Genesis said they would make sure this never came about. And here we sit today, but we're blaming the bondholder for trying to collect his money. And I just find that amazing that this commission did it 2 years ago. And we were told we'd never hear those words again for Barron's. Today, you're telling me, Tommy, we might hear them again. And I guess this commission will have to decide whether or not it's going to stand on what they said 2 years ago. No, we would not do another forbearance. So again, the forbearances, according to Mr. Treecost, and he has information, and I'll ask if he'll present it to make it part of the record, seems to know that Municap or somebody has been making wrong calculations for the last 3 years. Again, I'm not privileged to that information. I'm going to Commissioner Treecost, will you make that available to the commission? You seem to have that these numbers have been wrong and you have proof that they're wrong, you say. So Tom, is that an issue? We have not calculated these correct the last.
So that is something that has been stated by the taxpayer. Obviously, we're aware of the CED billing issue. With respect to the tax increment revenues, the auditor's letter says that the tax statements are billed correctly in the amount, but that the allocation to the TIF, there's reason to believe that it may not be correct. Now, we've got Municap looking at that, but and they haven't completed their work, but they're saying they're not seeing anything, at least significant. So, I mean, that's what we have to work off of. I don't know that the auditor or anybody else has any better information than that.
Thank you, Tom. Mr. Attorney, let me ask you something. Based on that the tax office falls underneath the sheriff's department, does Commissioner Hinkle need to recuse himself from this as well? He can't make any decisions based on anything that falls under the sheriff's office.
The county commission is the county entity which is charged with oversight of this process. And I don't believe he needs to recuse himself unless he wants to state a specific reason, which is within 715A. I would also note, as a practical matter, that the developer was invited formally to attend today's hearing to present any evidence, any claim, any support, which the commission could consider as part of its vote on this resolution, and they have chosen not to appear. But I don't believe Commissioner.
Who does the tax office fall under, Mr. Attorney? Whose authority?
Well, there's a hierarchy within the county. There's commission, sheriff, tax.
And what authority do I have over the sheriff once the budget's approved in March?
Well, the budget's a different issue. In relation to the budget, the law is that the commission sets the budget and then the sheriff spends the budget within the framework of county government.
And the tax office and the PROs.
The
and
elected officials, 100%.
Fall under the sheriff's department.
100%. Yeah, but I don't believe Commissioner Hinkle needs to recuse himself from this vote.
Because that's
a
different.
decision for him to make.
Because that's different than earlier.
Well, this is an overarching issue within the scope of county government, which you all are charged to administer. by statute.
And I wasn't charged by statute to do payroll change notices.
Well, you are charged by statute to do the payroll change notice.
What's the difference?
Well, the issue here, and I didn't really get a clear cause on the record from Commissioner Hinkle as to why he recused himself there. But
Because
that's an individual decision for a commissioner to make within the context of 715A. I mean, that's something it's something for you all to decide.
So 7115A equals full to recuse yourself from A through H on. Payroll
It's
change
up
notice.
to you all to decide.
Okay, we're
This
getting
is
way
just
off
just
Any way
base.
you want.
We're getting
I
way
mean,
off base here. Let's,
This is just becoming an argument on two sides of an issue.
exactly, that,
And if we're digressing and destroying the flow of the meeting, I think you all should vote and move forward. Both sides have fleshed out their positions ad nauseum at this point.
I agree with you.
I mean, that's where we are.
thank you.
I agree.
Okay, Mr. Treacock's motion was to take no action. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed.
No.
Mr. Hinkle's motion was to move forward with the resolution.
Yes, ma'am.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Point of order, is Mr. Treecost voting yes or no? He was silent.
What does silent mean, Madam President?
Yes.
I asked Madam President.
Yeah, it means
Thank you,
it's
Madam President.
right in the affirmative.
He knows.
So our motion is carried. Okay. We have number 9. Can we do 9, 10, 11 together? Is that possible? Since we have, okay. 9 is review, discuss, consider West Virginia DEP Shinston exploratory right of entry agreement and ingress egress agreement for property leased by Harrison County Commission from West Virginia State Rail Authority, and the tax ID number is, the parcel is there, as well as, well, there's 3. So, do you all want to? It doesn't matter. Just identify yourself, please.
Incorporated, we've been contracted by the West Virginia Office of Abandoned Wildlands and Reclamation.
Oh, I thought that was on.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Karen Cowell with Kleinfelder Incorporated. We've been contracted by the West Virginia DEP Office of Abandoned Wildlands and Reclamation to perform design work for 5 projects dealing with abandoned mine lands. And I appeared probably last month looking for exploratory rights of entry on Harrison County Commission projects for geotechnical and survey tasks to be done. And I'm appearing today to ask for exploratory rights of entry and ingress and egress on one property that you currently lease from the State Rail Authority, and also ingress and egress for a property that we have exploratory rights already signed on. And this is work that needs to be done due to the slide in Harrison County near the rail trail.
Where are these 3 pieces located, Laura?
Over in Shinston on the rail trail.
All 3 of them?
Yes, these 3 parcels are.
Sewer plant.
Correct.
Yep.
And actually, there are 2 properties. One property, we're looking for an ingress and egress and exploratory rights of entry. And then the second property, we do have exploratory rights of entry, and we're looking for ingress and egress so that we can have access to the slide area.
Madam President, we'll make the motion to give you the authority to do your egress and come onto our property and do as you please. And thank you for actually what you're doing for us.
So the motion is to approve 9, 10, 11, and affix appropriate signatures if necessary.
Yes, and Madam President, do you think, would you want to go ahead before we vote to go ahead and explain exactly what, update us on what's happening with the slide?
My name is Jamie Schaefer. I'm an environmental resource specialist for the Abandoned Mine Lands Program, and I'm the project manager to the referred to contract that encompasses what we refer to as West Fork 9 project that is in the area of the sewer plant and up and down the rail trail. After the slide, we met with a couple members of the, one member of the commission and the administrator to discuss how to move forward and to try to expedite it the best we could since we were already under contract. To that regard, thankfully Kleinfelder has been able to bump up their geotechnical schedule. Most people would be 4 or 5 months out. We're wanting to start Monday, so that's the very first stage to get this moving and get it fixed and get the rail trail back open. So appreciate you approving of this. It makes our job easier, and there may be other things that come up in the future. We look forward to discussing it with you and working out whatever we need to get this back open and used in the community. I would like to express one concern. The last 2 times I've been down there, it appears that people have made their way over the safety barriers. So please just be careful that those stay in place and that people aren't using that. I don't know if you have determined an alternate route around it yet. If you have, it may be good to make that public knowledge, because the one lady that I actually spoke to said, I'm from out of state, didn't know it was closed and was scared to leave and took my chance to go through the area. So that is occurring. So just be careful. We're doing the best we can to remediate it and get it done as quick as possible. But if you do have an alternate route set up, you should maybe take some steps. I was thinking like a map down by the road closed, just to say you can go this way, since you have a lot of out-of-state people
Because there
that
is, I
just
think
show
they have
up.
an alternate, but they'd have to go back.
Awesome. Sounds great.
Madam President, this is Pat Kowalczyk, Mayor of Shinston.
And Mayor,
Hello, we do have signs ordered. They should be in this week, showing a detour around that area.
thank you.
Very good.
Thank you. Thank you all.
And as mentioned, we're expecting geotechnical to start on Monday. And that will be up and down the rail trail, because our project actually is much larger than just the slide. And we're anticipating 7 days of being out there. So there will be some movement of equipment and people will have to be careful around that, but the geotechnical firm knows how to deal with that. So thank you very much. Any other questions?
Yeah, yes, sir, but the right of ingress is going to be down the rail trail and not down the road that the city owns to the sewage treatment plant.
Yes,
So all the ingress egress will be done on our property and not on anybody else's. Because there's a road that goes down to the water plant or the sewage plant, and that's not a private road of the city of Shinston.
Correct.
we already have that particular road
So-
signed up and
Okay,
taken
so they
care
agreed
of.
to that. I just want to make sure that we're not,
No,
something gets tore up and they think we blessed you guys to do it.
and we're tracking all of that so that if something does get teared up, then we're there to,
We're gonna be able to keep all this on the rail right away, or will any of this work end up happening on?
it's gonna happen all over the
Adjacent
place down
landowners.
there, and we've approached all the landowners that could be touched. It's just the paperwork for you, your entity needed cleared up, and that's why we were here today.
Could you supply copies of that to our staff
You have copies.
of all the adjoining landowners and other access that you've got approved?
I'll be happy. to
Thank
do
you.
that.
Just so we have that on record.
Absolutely.
And can't thank you enough for meeting with us and the urgency you've made for something important to.
Appreciate your time. Anything else?
Thank you
Thank you,
guys
guys.
very much.
Yep.
Hopefully we can get it cured. Cause it looks like a big slip.
We're yes, it'll get done.
Thank you. Appreciate
Appreciate
it.
very much.
Thank you.
So do we need to move the Jersey barriers down further? you think, or are they okay where they're at? But I don't wanna, try and make sure we don't interfere with what you all are trying to do, because right now I know I think we put Jersey barriers up on both.
David, I
sides.
don't think it would matter.
When I was down there,
Yeah.
what I refer to as a Jersey barrier is a concrete structure that
Yeah.
had to be lifted by heavy equipment.
Right,
When I was there, it was just two road signs that a person or two people could pick up and move. So
we put Jersey barriers down there, didn't we?
I directed to put Jersey barriers.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah, so,
I wasn't there last week, so maybe they've moved in since then. But there's definitely when I visited the last time, people making their way through there. And we just want authorized people that do this
Yeah, no, I
geotechnical
mean,
and all
that's-
that, because they have their own insurances and so forth to cover any accidents. I don't want some
or if you could
hiker
check
to
with
get hurt.
Danny to see, I mean, do we want to close it down at the bridge?
The ones I saw were actually coming from the
The sewer
sewer
treatment.
plant
Yeah.
side. So
Yeah, that's not.
Where's the backup routes? To go up through Shinston?
We
Yeah.
go up,
Yeah,
And then down?
yeah, there's a trail from the park, I think, down.
I'd say by the lodge.
Pat, is that right? Mayor, you still there?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here. That will go up, Malin Street. The detour will go up Malin Street, up the hill by the old high school and then down the, road that goes to the sewer plant. And the trail will continue from that point. So that whole section from the bridge to the sewer treatment facility can be, blocked off for now.
I think that would be make it easier for you all and just close it.
the only caveat that I'm worried about is the geotechnical drill rig and
Being able
it
to
being
get in there.
able to get through. So
Well, I think we can work around somehow to make it.
he can probably go
Yeah.
around the Jersey barrier or something, but like I said, that'll start Monday.
How about if I get my director of maintenance your phone number, Jamie?
Absolutely, and I can meet out there and we can talk whatever
You
we
have
need
to
to do.
place them exactly where you need them.
Yeah, because that scares me that people have been going
I'm
alongside
not
it.
surprised.
No, I'm not surprised. I just,
And we don't, I mean, until the situation's remedied, it could really keep on going
Yes,
at
sir.
any second, so.
I'll call the question, Madam President.
Do you have my contact information
Laura
to
does.
be able to do that, or should I leave it out there?
Give it to the girls, that way they can just pass it directly to Danny even before the meeting's over.
Great, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you all. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 12, review, discuss, consider Italian Heritage Festival's electric lines and new meter on the courthouse property. Mr. Boyles.
Hello and good morning. My name's Bill Boyles. I'm the chairman of the West Virginia Italian Heritage Festival. And beside me is Betty Waddy. She is the vice chairman. The reason I'm here is for the electric that we've started on Court Street. And again, I apologize for jumping the gun and not realizing the procedures that I had to take. And I apologize for that. But what has happened is our festival is on its 46th year. Every year we have to purchase generators that we put along 3rd Street that takes care of all of our staging, you know, with all of the different production equipment and all that. Well, the past few years, if those generators do not pull enough power, then they blow fuses. When they blow fuses, we have to call the rental company to come, and it's a big ordeal to replace the fuse. Last year, we actually had 3 separate generators brought in and replaced. So the easiest thing that we figured we could do, and I talked with several people, is go ahead and see if we can run a 3-phase power that we could put a meter socket there on the corner of the courthouse. Well, what I did was thinking I was doing right. I contacted Mon Power, First Energy. I met several times with them and different areas that we could try to draw power from. Well, they were thinking on the other side of the Chris Lane Golf Building. But then you had to bore underneath all that. So, but at the corner of the courthouse where the side entrance is, there's actually a draw coming in right there. But the problem is when that three-phase comes down and goes under the sidewalk into Chris Lane's building. If you've ever walked down Court Street there's a piece of plywood over two floor drains. Well, what's been happening for years is that water has run down through there and went on top of that. He told me 7,000 volts going through there. And they've had to try to splice it, and it's just been a complete chaos for them and Chris Lane and all the power in the golf building. So they said, if you guys put the new conduit in, which is 2 3-inch pieces of conduit all the way along the side there, which it had to be hand dug, we will not charge you anything to hook everything up. If you will continue that underneath the sidewalk into Chris Lane's building with conduit to fix the issue that's over there. And I was all for it. I said, we'll buy the conduit. I've already bought the conduit, and we had Dave Alvarez's guys come down. Actually, Steve Anise, which is on the board, works for Dave, and he arranged for all the labor, which they hand dug that because I called 811 and there was so much power and stuff in there that they had to dig up by hand. So we dug up by hand and got the conduit in. And then I got the call that, I was clear out of line, which again, I apologize because I didn't know, there's a lot more to this than meets the eye. But I mean, as far as cost, I talked to several people, and when I talked to Stephen Anise, he said we were looking probably around $12,000 for the whole project. And I understand the budget issues, and I understand that the government has really, put a crimp in your budget because of the funding and all that. Completely understand that. My thought was, let's get the thing in, and then because it's Dave Alvarez, give me the bill, and if I can't present it and get you guys to help me in some sort, then I got Betty, which is the best money woman we got as far as gathering up funding for us. But this is something that is not just for the West Virginia Italian Heritage Festival. This is something that anybody that wants to put something on the courthouse plaza down there, they could plug in. I've talked to James with the Black Heritage Festival, and he says, their stage is more on the corner, and they use a lot of just the 110, which is all along the street, which our equipment, we can't use 110. It has to be a 3-phase, like a 220 or whatever. I'm not a electrical person, but I think it's years ago when Ron Watson was on the commission, he used to have a thing where he would have singers on the plaza. You remember that?
The commission did that.
Yeah, you could do something like that. I mean, but it's not just for us, but I know I'm at a standstill right now, trying to get authorization to move on. The biggest issue is getting people together. Anytime you have, we can't do anything without First Energy being present because of the power situation. So everything that we do, they have to witness and sign off on and all that. So at this point, it was suggested that we cover up what we put in the ground, the conduit, and just wait till we can get approval to proceed. We got a festival coming here Labor Day weekend, and that's a big project that I've been working on, trying to get this all done. And I understand that if you guys can help us financially, great. If you can give me the approval to press on, that's great. And, you know, we'll do what we have to do to try to get it taken care of once it's said and done.
Now, does there have to be a meter there? Did I hear that
Yes.
somewhere along the line?
There's gonna have to be a meter, and the reason for the meter is, you know, if any of that, you know, somebody's gotta pay for the power. You know, there's gonna be a, you know, during the festival, that's something that the festival could pay for. You know, because, you know, we're not worrying about the generator, but, I don't know how you would, you know, maybe the month of September, the festival would cover it or something. But the rest of the time, you're probably just gonna have you know, just a meter charge unless you could shut it off, which I don't know. I'd have to inquire with the power company if there's a way that we could just, you know, maybe certain months have it on.
And the minimum charge is more since it would be a commercial business versus a residential.
Laura, are we gonna have to spend any money on, the county's pocket to redo the sod and the grass and everything?
We shouldn't be spending anything out of pocket for.
That's what I'm asking you. Are we gonna have to?
I would hope not. I would hope that they would take care of everything that has been dug up on our property.
Has it been taken care of?
They have seeded it, and put straw and everything down on the section that they dug up. We still do have 2 holes there where I had them stop work, till we can get this figured out.
Access, so.
When will those be filled, Laura?
Everything is on pause until commission, this was brought before the commission and you decide on it.
Do you want us to do that bill and to send who the bill for that? For filling those access holes?
If-
Well, we don't wanna fill them up until we either ditch this program that we're doing where we can't get the power in there because those access, in other words, they left those tubes that we put in there. And then they put some kind of vacuum and they can suck the lines through. And then we put the connections on it, cover everything back up so everything, but the reason they left them open is so they could pull the power lines through there. That's the reason we left them open. We didn't want to cover them completely.
Mr. Zimmerman, should we not have an agreement with the power company to run power along the side of the building and it's supplying power to another entity from our property?
Typically, we'd have some kind of agreement with power company. The question I have is, can they shut it off so it's just it's like a tap, there's a tap fee, but would they be willing to shut it off to support what y'all are trying to do? Because I think it's a good
On the
purpose.
festival
Right.
side of it, but we're also, they're gonna tap into the vault where the county gets their electricity and rerun new electricity into Chris Lane's building.
That's been condemned.
But I understand, and I'm just asking why we have not heard from the power company about accessing our property for a right of way to transfer electricity to another entity.
So power companies and right of ways are odd. There's a statute where they have, because of the demand for power, sort of a historic grandfathered in right of way in some instances. But typically we do see a more modern, updated agreement from the power company, and I would like to see that as your attorney,
So I spoke with the power company.
especially given where it's going.
Yes,
Just.
and so they were under the impression that we approved this, and so they have not done any work on our property. The power company themselves, they have not pulled any lines or anything like that. All the work has been put to a halt until that point in time. So I talked to Mr. Talkington and they would like to run line through, but of course, with our permission, since it's our property.
Did he supply the specifications for what needed to be run?
He
As
did-
far as,
Conduit?
yeah, the conduit I've already paid for out
Oh,
of
but I mean, did the power company tell you what kind of conduit, how big elbow sweeps that they were wanted to make the turns?
They were there when they told me what to purchase, which I purchased 220 feet of 3-inch conduit. So you have to have 2 3-inch lines going together because you can only put so much in one piece of conduit. And they were there and actually the ditch had to be 36 inches deep they started out 24, power company showed up, did their measurement, said, you gotta go 36, so they redug it again. And before we could actually fill the ditch back in, the power company was there and witnessed it and said, everything looks good, put it together and close it up. So yeah, they were there witnessing all that.
And whose power box sits up there now? Who owns that great big box with the 2 meters that sit up there now? We got add another box? Or are they using that box and another meter?
There would have to be, the big box that's there now,
Belongs to,
I don't know who that one belongs to, but that tower is for the buildings through there, they said. This meter would have to be on the corner of the courthouse, and it would be, so then you jump from that over to Chris Lane's. We would have to put the conduit in underneath the sidewalk, which there's one place where those drains are that we would have to bore underneath there and go in Chris Lane's basement and fix all that issue with all that.
so we're still talking about setting a piece of boring equipment somewhere over on courthouse property to go underneath.
We need to come up with something and.
When's a
agree.
time frame? Obviously September, you're trying to get all this done,
Yeah.
up and running.
Can the power company and you all and maintenance come back with us with?
Well,
a
that's what I'm saying.
program?
Everybody needs to get together and come back
Yeah,
with an agreement.
and who's
or
paying
they're
for
gonna-
what? Cause I mean, boring's not gonna be cheap. Is that Chris Lane's, that the power company?
Now,
That
we had
commission?
already talked with, David Hour from Forest Street, and the whole project's gonna run about 12 grand.
Even
What's
boring
Chris-
under the street. under
Yeah.
the-
And what's Chris Lane paying?
I don't think Chris Lane will pay anything, I know that,
I'm just asking
yeah,
who's writing the checks for all this, that's all.
yeah. I know there's a big issue with
Betty's gonna go look for the big check.
Chris Lane's building power.
No, that's kind of not our issue. Okay, well, I mean, I'll make a motion that we have you and the power company and our maintenance get together, discuss it, come up with agreements with our attorney so that we know what we're gonna be required to agree to and what the power company is going to agree to. Cause you're telling me we're gonna get another box and a meter, and that one we have now is ugly as sin. I don't wanna have another one stuck up there beside the statue, so kinda give us an idea of what we're
I
looking
think
at.
it'll be right behind, they look at it right behind the.
Is it as big as that one, smaller than that one?
And maybe they can put a new one in.
Or maybe put a new one in that takes care of all the issues. I guess that's what we would be. We could have that conversation, so maybe we can get rid of the big one and tie it all into one that's takes care of all the issues. Just, yeah, they could, and that's it's just May. So for the next meeting, what's that, 2 weeks away? Can everybody, you think, pull that one off? Or
Yes, sir.
is that okay with you to?
Yeah, what we need to do as far as getting everybody together, I'll get with Laura.
Get with Laura and then she'll go with the power company and the maintenance and the city and everybody just kinda. Cause this sounds like an interesting.
Mhm.
If
Way to
the-
go,
if the
Bill.
building's being condemned, why are we running electricity to it? So I guess that's the issue, so.
He's working on getting something taken care of,
so.
I think.
Yeah.
So do you want to table this rather than?
Yes, that's fine. Well, I'm not really sure what we were gonna vote to do.
That's true.
Well, the reason.
Just
I was
review,
here
discuss and consider. Yeah,
was just trying to get ability to press on. My
Yeah.
biggest issue is getting the power company together with because anytime you have that kind of power involved, you can't do anything without having them present so that they can sign off on, hey, just like an inspector or whatever, they have to approve everything we do to make sure we're within the specs that they require. So, I've got guys that were coming from Dave Alvarez group that done by hand, and getting people available laborers to do that and getting the power company there at the same time has been it's been a task in itself.
Well, maybe we'll make it just a little bit easier.
I think we can, and I think even with the power company, if you're drawing the kind of power, I just want to make sure that they look us in the face and tell us that the electricity that they're yanking out of the vault is not going to affect the courthouse.
Understands. Yeah.
I would just feel that.
I appreciate that. And again, I apologize for not following the procedure.
You learned a lesson, right?
I
Bill?
did, I
Okay.
did.
Okay, so motion to table.
Yes, ma'am. Motion to table.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion carried.
Thank you all very
Okay,
much.
you got it. No more digging without permission. Okay. Number 13, review, discuss, consider status and nature of Ellis transaction and property inspections, potential executive session pursuant to 69A 4B9 to consider matters involving or affecting the purchase, sale, or lease of property, advanced construction, planning, the investment of public funds, or other matters involving commercial competition which if made public might adversely affect the financial or other interest of the state or any political subdivision.
I don't need to go to executive session. Laura, just tell us what's going on.
That's fine. Do you want to talk about the structural report or do you want me to talk about it? The county got, as part of its due diligence, had Barber and Hoffman, I'm getting old, I can't read, go out and take a look at the theater wall, the movie screen, and there's some structural issues there. And there are basically three options: fix it, partially tear it down, or fully tear it down. And there are costs associated with those options, pardon me, which escalate from fixing it, most expensive, partial tear down, to full tear down being the least expensive. And I need to know in the transaction what your framework is and what you want me to try to accomplish. Do you want to acquire that section, acquire the movie screen, fix it, partially tear it down, fully tear it down, so that I can share that with the seller and draft provisions in the deed which protect the county one way or the other from what it wants to do? There's also additional costs there.
I think what's important to know right now that we're leaving out is that she does have lifetime rights to that property, right, Laura?
She does.
And
So therefore, why don't we just let her have it?
Well, I can try to exclude the property in its entirety
Yeah.
with the screen,
We don't want.
but that might,
Or I don't-
she might not want to do that. I mean,
Tommy, could you scroll the pictures?
the failures are in the upper sections of the movie screen, which it looks like it's been kind of lag drilled
Keep going.
over time, and there've been pilings placed either originally or as filler in the movie screen.
It's got a bulge in it.
There are large tension cracks throughout the structure.
And if I read the agreement right, it's based upon that we and they both agreed to accept it as is. And any future repairs will fall on commission.
That's what we talked about historically, is that you all would take control of the screen. You would give the seller a life estate in the residence, which is on the ground floor, so to speak, there, because that's what the seller had requested. I mean, as your attorney, my approach tends to mirror Commissioner Treecost, which is ask them to exclude from the property the screen because of the risk involved with it.
I mean, it's 425 to fix it, 230 to reduce the size, 180 to bring the screen down so that she can live in it, and under 100 to tear it down. And those are all conservative estimates, and we can see the shape that it's ready to fall down now. And
We don't know if it's gonna fall down, but we sure don't have the responsibility of it.
I'd say just give it another 5 years, it looks of it, and a few more winters, and it's coming down.
So is your directive to ask the seller to exclude that tract from the sale process?
When you say track the whole
No, no,
10
no, just
acres
the-
or just acreage around it?
Just the acreage around the building and the screen.
How much do we want to exclude?
Really, so you drive out there. If you know where the restaurant is, there's the toll window and then the property starts. There's a fenced area which goes around the residence where the screen is. I would suggest the fenced area around the property.
And we're still, David, Susan, we're still gonna give them the full amount of money that they asked for the property. We're not taking anything off because we're excluding this. We're still gonna give them the full amount. We just don't want this as part of the deal anymore.
It's a lot cleaner that way.
So if we give it 100-foot buffer around the residence, would that be?
So I don't think 100-foot buffer would work because there's a road there
That's too much.
which goes directly in front. The residence, the front entrance kind of sits. There's the toll window right here, the residence is here, and there's a road right here, so a 100-foot buffer wouldn't work. I would use the fence line. I understand where you're trying to go with like a fall buffer.
Yeah.
For the,
That's
for the,
all I'm
for the
looking
wall,
at,
for
so
the
that
wall,
falls that
right?
we don't have to worry about anybody being within falling range.
Well, that could be on Route 19, David.
Yeah, it could be, it
We're
could
off the
be.
hook there.
And there,
Today.
there are power lines back there too.
Yeah, we're off
that
the
are
hook on that one.
right behind it.
It's in front of this building. If it comes this way or somebody's in behind it, that's what I worry about.
The other thought I had was, I don't know if the county, if we could get this to close on, exclude this parcel and then try to work with the landowner separately on that parcel in the future to try to get some funding to help as part of a different transaction
To repair it?
to repair, tear down, or partially tear down. One of the options.
That's a great idea later. How much money did Mickey and Keith get us for the building out at White Delmar?
Sit.
No, but they keep talking.
Okay, I thought that was why we kept it. Okay, so let's.
I'm just trying to throw something out
I
there.
mean,
Yeah.
470 is conservative to repair, so I'm gonna guess it's probably in today's real dollars without any engineers going up there, Patsy, it's probably twice that. I'm gonna suggest if we wanna go out and get grant money in the tune of $500,000 or $1 million. I think we got a lot more pressing projects from your rail trail to parks.
Well, the real problem,
Theater.
The airport, oh my God.
from my
I'm just saying,
perspective,
I
the
mean,
real
we just
problem
have
is
other issues.
you have somebody who lives underneath it as well.
Yeah,
and
and where does they go while we're doing it?
That's choice.
I know, but that's choice,
Life
but
full of choices.
I'm a fan of trying to exclude the parcel, share the
Yeah.
report and
Okay,
exclude the parcel, and I can work with Laura to define a radius around the movie screen,
yeah, I agree.
but it ain't gonna be 100 feet, although I get where you're going.
Yeah,
I do too.
it's only 64 foot tall, so basically doubling the falls and.
But please reiterate to her that we're gonna give her the full amount, even though we're leaving her house to have forever. Or she can sell it to somebody else. Okay,
The only other question I have is. The restaurant,
it's part of the next demo package, Dave.
I know, and. That's my other concern, we kind of demoing it because we were buying it, or we were just demoing it because it's there.
Turning into both, because if something doesn't happen, we would have demoed it anyway, because it's part of the demo list.
And do we put liens on the properties we demo?
Oh, yeah,
No, sir, we don't.
actually, we do.
Most of them we don't. And now my question is, we couldn't have given it, we're asking for a right of entry. And are we going to put a lien on the whole parcel or a section? If this falls through.
I don't think we need to talk about that now. I think what's more important is that we go ahead and let her keep. the
Demo
property.
contract we're gonna approve today.
I don't think we need to give you direction, Sean. Do exactly as you've been doing. Everything can't change when we decide on the fly here.
mean, I think you all have to, I mean, you have the money, you have the funding to demo. It's a nuisance. There's no insurance.
It's an eyesore.
The land, it's right on
The
19,
people selling ramps can't like the smell.
but I mean, that was my thought process on it.
This
but-
is DEP, is it DEP money is what, I mean, no, that's
That's
commission,
ours.
okay.
So again,
okay.
it's back to, are we putting a lien on the whole property? If this goes false, that's all. Hopefully it does.
Charlotte's shaking her head, yes. I mean, I think
Okay.
we would put a,
Well, why are we not
Think-
putting it on all of them?
With the DEP money, we have not,
Okay,
but anytime I.
I understand
commission
that.
money, I do.
okay.
I think we need an explanation on the DEP money, but we can wait.
yeah, we've had some communication with the state about what they want us to do there. Cause then it's weird, cause if it comes back in, where does it
It
go?
goes back to the state to reallocate.
I understand that framework, but there's not really a good, in the code, there's really not a mechanism for that, which there should be, based on my read of it historically.
Okay, so motion on the floor is that we go ahead and allow Mr. Attorney to negotiate with the family and make it clear that we wish them to keep the property and we don't reduce our price for the property without it.
That's your motion.
Please.
And you're gonna work out a area around.
Laura and I will work out an area. I think it's gonna be tied to the fence pretty much. Gotta get my drone back as part of the.
So you're going to negotiate that issue of they maintain the screen.
Yes,
Not maintain the screen. That
Keep-
they-
they'll own
keep
it.
the
that they
parcel.
own it.
keep the parcel.
Okay, what if they agree to let you have it, Patsy, for $5,000? You take the screen and tear it down?
They have not, I don't want anything to do with the screen. It's bulging. The report said bulging.
I said tear it down.
I don't want to tear it down. I don't want any more tax dollars going into that. We've made a very good offer. We've got a very good project. We have people right now figuring out exactly where to put what. We're moving forward if the family wants us to. Even if she moves out, we can't afford to tear down the house. It's gonna cost us a ton. It'll eat up this year's allowance.
Okay. So the motion is to go back to the property owner and advise her that we are not interested in taking the parcel with the screen and come up with an area around the building. Correct? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None, motion carried. Okay, number 14. Review, discuss, consider authorizing the county administrator to move forward with negotiations on Route 19 property. Potential executive session pursuant to 69A4B9 to consider matters involving or affecting the purchase, sale, or lease of the property, advanced construction planning, the investment of public funds, or other matters involving commercial competition, which if made public might adversely affect the financial or other interest of the state or any political subject.
Sorry, but I'm gonna ask to remove that until we get the theater square in.
Agreed.
That's kind of what I figured.
I was trying to catch it.
Oh,
before you-
okay.
Before you read it all.
You could have interrupted me. Okay, you want to,
I'm just saying that we can table this.
okay, motion to table 14.
Yes, ma'am.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion carried. Number 15, review, discuss, consider our role as animal control officers and cities and municipality calls for animal control officers. You weren't there 2 seconds.
She wasn't. She'd been waiting in the doorway.
So Madam President, this is on.
Yeah, I had to defend you guys, somebody from Clarksburg the other day.
Mm.
Oh, because of different issues we are having, we just want some clear defined roles as to our responsibilities. Currently, except for the city of Clarksburg, we take care of the whole county. None of the other cities or municipalities have a animal control officer. Clarksburg does have an animal control officer. Historically, in the past, that animal control officer is responsible for all of their calls, including after hours. You know, they're called out in the evenings and the weekends. Historically, that has always been the case. Recently, the city of Clarksburg has pretty much informed me that their animal control officer works Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, and we're responsible for the rest of the time. They're pretty clear on that. So I think it's a discussion that we need to have to see exactly what our role is with the different municipalities.
So I did some research on this with Laura, and here's my thought. I think the county should invite all the municipalities in for a meeting on this and should basically establish a uniform mutual aid type program with Laura and Cassie meeting with them and treat everybody the same. Or have two different classifications, one for people who have animal control and one for municipalities who do not, either one or the other. But talk to everybody, and my concern as the county attorney is that the county is going into municipal boundaries and performing animal control services. So it should have some type of agreement in place with everyone, which is the same, just like we are doing for election processes, or similar approach, mutual aid type agreement. But Laura and Cassie would just meet with everybody.
What if they don't want to sign a mutual aid agreement?
I guess why would they not want why would they not want you all to provide services to them? But I know, but I would think that I would hope that you could make some progress. But I would like the county to have a formal agreement where the county is going into Lost Creek, West Milford, Shinston to provide these services. I just think that'd be nice to have.
Have fees presently for going into these cities, other than what we charge residents?
My question.
So we have the fees associated with how many days we board and everything. Are they higher than what we charge the residents or the same price?
So we just motioned at the beginning of the year to raise everything.
Stand up, Casey, go to the mic.
Oh, yeah, good, like that.
So, I think it was back in November, we had talked about, raising the fees for not only reclaiming animals for the public, but what we were charging for the cities as well. And, those went from like $2 a day for boarding per animal. And I believe it was like $5 for euthanasia. And you guys voted to raise that to $20 for euthanasia and $5 a day for boarding. So, which really at this point, it's impactful, but it's not as impactful as it could be given the status of what we're doing in animal control and how many that we're saving at this point. So really the cities are paying much less even than before. So, because we're not euthanizing like we were, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
for that.
And you
No, I
guys-
mean,
Okay.
And you guys are available 24/7 to go out?
Yeah. Yeah, so, we have an on-call schedule, and it rotates. There's an officer on call every weekend, 24 hours a day. And then after hours from 4 PM to 8 AM the next morning.
So we almost need to have an after hours premium cost as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's like we getting called out of the phone company. You know?
Yeah, and I guess what I'm still confused is when do the citizens know whether they're calling their local or
what's
us?
that called 911 is?
So yeah, they call headquarters and then we're dispatched from headquarters, but no,
Clarksburg's the same way, right? It's Clarksburg, yeah.
supposed to be, correct, yeah. However, we do kind of decipher through calls if we deem them as actual emergencies or not. Just because officers don't need to be, getting overtime for something silly or something that we wouldn't deem as like,
Barking dog.
yeah, if an animal's hit or injured or something like that, we always go out, because that is our due diligence as animal welfare. However, if there's a dog at large that's, running around and, nobody has has it contained, we don't go out for that kind of stuff after hours.
So you can write that into the MOU, Trey,
I think we discussed it with all.
so that they don't think that we're coming out for parking dogs or the dog standing down on the street corner.
It's gotta be practical, yeah.
We're not chasing after dogs in the wee hours or cats or.
Especially to pay overtime for something like that. I mean, if the caller has an idea of where the animal belongs and they can report that to headquarters, when we get the CAD, we always address it the next morning. We either go and visit the individual saying, hey, we got a call that your animal was loose. If this happens again, you could be cited for it, just as kind of just a leeway on us still doing our job, but you know, it's not something that needs to be addressed after hours and have overtime pay for it.
I think Mr. Tree Costa, right? We have to look at what the costs are for you all to run around in the wee hours.
Yes. I mean, I believe 100% mutual aid, but at the same time, we have to be compensated.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for doing what you're doing down there.
Thanks.
Okay, so we'll wait for you to get back.
Is it?
Did you get back to us with what we worked out?
Yes,
Please.
as soon as I can.
Okay, take your time. All right,
So
table it, just wait till she gets back to it.
Well, they're all gonna, they're gonna meet with the other municipalities.
We'll
And
work
then-
on coming up with an MOU, that we feel is fair, then we'll meet with the municipalities and talk to them about it, and we can go from there and then bring it back to the county commission.
again, just from what I hear, I think our people would like to have a kind of a time out with some of the municipalities until we get this worked out. That they're running around instead of the municipality handling it. Is that correct?
You mean in the meantime?
Yeah.
I would like to ask us, because I don't know if we actually addressed this part. For our after hours calls and because I know that was the whole reason for this put on the agenda. For our after hour calls, are we on the same page with what our expectations are for our officers and our animal control officers? Is that the same for you all? Like for emergencies?
Yeah, for you guys for emergencies, yes. I think
Within city limits as well.
I think that's where we need clarification as to what our role is, like, for example, the municipality that has an animal control officer. Is that something we have to respond? Whose responsibility is it? I think that needs clearly defined. Versus us being told we have to take care of it and us feeling that we don't have the jurisdiction to go in because they have their own officer.
Well, it's no different than mutual aid in any other aspect. If they have a free person, then they go. But of course, if they're a free person, like if the deputies.
Because my understanding, they used to get paid overtime, correct? And went out of an evening, right?
Yeah.
Correct. They always answered their own.
That's previously and
Previously.
Right.
Now.
right.
But if
Now
they're
they-
on call, or-
Now they're saying they don't do overtime. So
They
that's when we need to figure out what we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, what,
And I'm just looking, is there any direction while we're doing this, or we're just gonna let status quo go for now?
No, I think it needs to be part of what we talk about with them and let them know that, you have your first due, and if you're occupied, then we'll step in like no different than we do on everything else public servant related. But at the same time, also understand that if, we're gonna do mutual aid in the evening and they're not gonna participate, it's gonna be at a cost.
but we can't do that until we have an agreement.
Right. So,
Yeah.
But they need to figure out what to do now.
Right.
Yeah.
Are
I
they
think
gonna-
that's the biggest problem is that we're sort of being taken advantage of. So because this was never the case, like Officer Cockrell that we now have employed for the county animal control facility, they would inform us beforehand, like, hey, he's scheduled for vacation or whatever. But we're not getting any sort of insight or information until like the day of or a few hours before their officer's unavailable. So, and that puts a little bit of strain, just having to deal with city limits and, you know, our own calls, because if we get back-to-back calls, you know, like, it's just
Yeah, see, that's
bit of
just
a headache.
That's a communicate, this lack of communication in the world of communication, just I'm about had it. Seems like we communicated better. when
Well,
we
they've
did.
tried to communicate, but the other side doesn't want
mean,
to
I-
play, so.
Then end up a conversation.
Yeah, I really don't think that this is on the county side, because we have reached out profusely and, you know, addressed this, but
Let's
mean,
just say what it says, the city, their guy goes home at 4:30 and they expect us to cover.
I mean, is
And
the
to cover the
question,
weekends.
is the question, are we gonna spend overtime money on our people in this interim period? Cause I wouldn't think we would. I
No,
think we would cut it out
Right.
until we work this out.
I agree, 100%. And then once we work it out and we negotiate the price that we're gonna take for that overnight, that call out, which they may find it's cheaper to hire a new person. You tracking me?
right, or maybe we would just cover them like we do everybody else, but I mean, that's.
But in the
each their-
meantime, we'll just.
Sounds good. Thank you.
okay,
So there's really
No,
nothing to do on
I think we-
15.
yeah, I think
Okay, bring it back, when put it
Mhm.
back on when we're ready. Number 16, review, discuss, consider rail trail ordinance enforcement, fines and permit fees.
I believe this was put on, just to get a clarification. I know that there was confusion at the sheriff's office about what code to use, and the ordinance needed an ordinance number, if I am correct on this.
But now my understanding is
I think the
they have to use a
magistrate
code
court,
section.
I think the magistrate court gave the code section to the officer.
But do we need to put that in our ordinance or amend it to add that?
I mean, we can, it's really up to you all. There was a signage issue. We need a better signage, which
Okay.
you have to give people notice on the trail before you can, like speeding sign. So we can update the ordinance to add it in if you want. It's easy.
At least it's there.
yeah, I think so.
Then we need to work on signage, more signage, or figure out what we need to.
Tamper resistant signage. Good luck.
In West
Well, at least we
Virginia,
have
yeah,
signage, right?
there's no such thing.
Poor Wally back here.
And along with this agenda item, we talked about the different permits for the residents who have to drive over, the rail trail. And Charlotte has worked on coming up with different permits that they can put on the cars. And then it could be color coded by year that they come into the planning office and pay for their permit and get registered. Per vehicle gets one of these decals, so we know that they're allowed to travel back and forth to their home across the rail trail. So there's some samples.
This is something we can also put on GovWell. We need to get moving on that.
Then it's gonna.
Penny Lane.
Gonna take somebody probably going and knocking on doors to residences to explain to them that they have to.
Right.
Register. I don't think we charged them a permit fee. I think we just wanted to,
Didn't we set a fee? Did
I don't
set-
think we set a fee for the permit. I'm running down through here. Did we set one?
I do not
Charlotte, I
believe-
don't think we did for,
We talked about a fee, but we never set a fee.
yeah, we just said they needed to obtain a permit for their motor vehicle, which should always to be displayed and visible.
How much do we want it to cost?
We'd have to adjust the ordinance, Trey, it's a charge.
And if we're doing it, we may as well have built in a fee,
Okay.
but I would suggest that it be minimal,
$15?
whatever you all
$25?
think's fair. I mean, we created this exception because there are a number of people who live,
On the opposite sides.
yeah,
Quite
So-
a few.
yes.
10, 15, 20?
20 works for me. And I think we should limit the amount of,
And we're gonna do this yearly?
Yes, yearly.
and how many vehicles that we're gonna give them permission so that they don't have Somebody comes in and gets 20 permits,
You want to tie it to like proof of residency there?
I would.
Just an thought.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Charlotte? So that's what it's for.
Want to limit it to 2, 3, 4 per household.
Or
Left a space on that sticker where you can write what trail they're going to be on and where they are crossing. So we could narrow it down to that, and they would have to show proof of residence.
I
Say
wouldn't,
4.
I mean, I wouldn't put a specific number on it. I just don't, I
Listen,
mean,
I think some of those houses you go down by them, Trey, I think you'll see it looks like a used car lot down there on the weekends, and if not, you got 20 cars hanging out driving or up and down the rail. I mean, I'm just,
look on your face.
I know you don't want to do that, but I'm just trying to.
I didn't, I mean, the reason we created the exception was to protect people's property rights to access their property, so it's up to you.
Well, they can take it from one to the, oh no, it's a decal. They got to stick
Decal.
it on there. Well, they can just put it on something, and believe me, they can put it on a plastic and take it from one vehicle to the other.
I'd say, I mean, if it becomes an issue, we can adjust.
Right.
But
Right.
We could make a hanger,
Right.
you know, instead of a sticker on the vehicle, we can
Right.
make a hanger.
Thank you.
Each person get a hanger, you know, or each resident
So that's what he said.
household gets a hanger that put in their car. They could transfer it from
Just
car to
stick the
car.
sticker from
Yeah.
one vehicle to the other.
Okay,
Okay, so we need to vote on the permit fee.
I think we've got the directive, just bring
Okay.
it back, a revised ordinance.
Okay.
With a penal provision and a fee.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thanks, Charlotte. Number 17, review, discuss, consider hiring a human resource generalist.
Madam President, Commissioner Treecross asked me to put this on here. We've had discussions about hiring a human resource generalist. I feel very strongly that we need one. We have budgeted for one. We've had advertisements for one who will do both HR and work on procurement.
That's the other way. I'll agree with it.
Was talking to Tiffany Durst about a couple issues, and I mentioned this to her, and she's a big proponent of it. I mean, her of all people defend us a lot whenever we have some HR issues. And she's willing to speak to any of the commissioners to reiterate why she feels that it's so important to have this position.
What happens when the elected officials don't want to cooperate? Do they have to cooperate?
So go ahead.
We would want the cooperation.
Well, I know, but we want
So-
things.
I get it.
I mean,
Description
of duties for my office.
huh?
does that one?
What's that?
So part of the job description or duties to my office. How does that work?
Like which specifically?
Like employee benefits, healthcare, we do that currently. That's what Courtney does.
Do you-
And the listing. Feel like I should have been consulted first or asked if things that we do were gonna be taken from us.
Oh, it's not gonna be taken from you. Those kind of things you guys will still take care of. If
It's in the
some,
job description. So if I just like to be clear.
it is. If someone needs it explained more, where for some reason bookkeeping can't explain that, this person will also understand our benefits and can explain it. None of the onboarding, any of that kind of stuff is taken away from anything from you guys. A lot of the duties will be like the workers' comp, the FMLA, all those kind of stuff, disgruntled employees. And if for some reason elected officials, I would say, choose to not utilize this person, well, then they can, I would say, handle their workers' comp, their unemployment, all
But
that
isn't
kind of
this your
stuff.
job line?
This is one of the things that falls on me, that takes a lot of my time.
Okay.
Can I just, HR mistakes, forgetting to update your employee handbook, communication policy, anti-harassment policy, attendance policy, code of ethics. About number two, lack of documentation for performance-based termination. I'd love for somebody to show me if I wanted to terminate an employee tomorrow, where I would see documentation of performance based upon termination. That's not done here. Managing employee data. Nobody really has one place where we manage employee data. Keeping job applications, resumes, offer letters, which we don't do any offer, drug testing, consent results, FMLA. 4, outdated interviewing hiring processes. When was the last time anybody here took a class or went to understand what's all required really to hire somebody in the area of ability, customer service, dependability, initiative, interpersonal skills? Number 5, lack of job training. We do nothing for team building, coaching, negotiation, or conflict resolution here. And again, if you want Laura to do all this, that's great. I'm just not going to ask her to do a lot of other stuff. Unclear company policies. Well, I think that's probably number 1 in this place is who knows what our policies are, and disregard for employment laws and regulations. Wow, I think that probably is right at the top. So we're worried about who's handling this and who's going to take it away. Why don't we hire a professional that's certified on to college and make sure that we can avoid all these issues as far as recruiting, disciplinary.
Okay, my question to that, one of those was hiring. This person isn't gonna be hiring for John, right?
That's entirely up to John. He has the choice to use the person or
I
not.
just want to make sure that.
But we have how many employees that are outside of elected officials? 100. The rule of thumb is 50 plus. Anybody that's in
I'm
business,
saying-
I'm just saying, again, my last thing is anybody that's in business, when you don't have an HR person for the amount of employees. And if John wants to handle his own HR, I'm great with that. I want him to. And I want any other elected official that does it. But what I don't want is if they don't like the results, that they come to her and to us because they don't like what happens with their HR decision. When they had an
But
HR
that's, I
qualified
think we're gonna have,
person.
that's gonna be an issue. I think we're gonna have to have.
They have an
something.
HR qualified person that be on staff to have that discussion, not with
But we need to
Laura
be prepared for something like that.
and not with.
Do we not?
Well, I mean, if you want sort of some insight from the legal side, what I'd like to see is a dual HR risk officer who works on procurement, capital management, fleet management, and all those issues. If you can find somebody who can do both of those and do a really good job, it's going to add an immense value to the county from capital planning in particular. I've started on you all back in the old building about asset management, depreciation, all these things. And I would love to see
I've
somebody,
been trying for an inventory or some kind of system.
well, just, I mean, even like scale, somebody, and it's not just the county, but it's not just the county commission. You could have somebody here who
Yeah.
facilitates purchases as basically a co-op with all the municipalities, and the scale savings would be exponential.
Perfect example of. I was on the phone with her the other day about this. I don't know what we were talking, I think we were talking about this.
Laptops being
Yeah.
tagged.
Well,
I don't mean to let
laptop-
you lash out at you all, but I just, it
But
would be a
laptop and
lot of
all,
benefit.
she mentioned it, I looked at it, nowhere on it did it have tag.
Yours doesn't have a tag.
No, so she
Mine
has it.
does.
I'm glad yours does. I know what we were talking about.
Yeah.
I know what we're talking about now.
Yeah, so she brought it. to me.
Somebody else has, it, you know. had a computer.
I know.
Okay. So that's what, oh my.
I know.
I'm gonna be-
Listen, I don't have a problem with you say Trey, but until that person gets their feet as far as this county's concerned with HR issues, and the very first one that says we're getting ready to discuss again is employee manual. And they should be right in the middle of making sure our employee manual's up to date and works. I'm not qualified for it.
I haven't heard one thing from anybody that doesn't fall under law. I'm not for this and I'm not gonna vote for it. I think every county administrator, every city manager, every storm manager, police chief, county attorney, foreman. You get paid 40 hours to work 55 hours a week. That's what you get signed up for when you take the job. You know, I mean, this is large job. So I'll make the motion that we don't hire. 'Em. So you guys can make a second motion that we do, but I'm making the motion we do not move forward hiring resource generals.
Well, if we do, I think we need to realize this is probably just gonna be commission. And what are you gonna do with the elected officials?
Nothing.
But that-
Susan, the only thing I can say is that elected officials will have the option if they don't want to use it, then that's their prerogative. But it's the same way with an employee handbook. If they're not going to accept the one the commission makes, then they need to come up with their own employee.
Well, that's
handbook.
the way it's always. Hate that those words, but
But I mean, that's what we're discussing and.
But I just want to make sure it's clear from the get-go with all the elected officials and the commission. That if they want to do their own HR, then they do their own HR and what they do when it comes to HR.
Well, they do that
Because-
now, unless they call Laura up and ask her to do it.
They don't do all the workers' comp, they don't do their own workers, no.
That all falls under. I
Exactly.
take care of all the.
And how
workers'
many-
comp, the unemployment,
Right.
the.
And that's for everyone.
But I'm saying it's a big discussion we have to have, but
I know, but I think that needs to take place at some point soon.
I don't disagree.
So should we do it before we move on or?
Well, I don't think we're that close to hiring somebody. Mr. Creekhouse asked we put on. I asked if resumes have been gone through and they're down and they haven't yet, so. I think we're still weeks away from even considering it's whether or not to continue to bring people in for interview at this.
Let's call the question on the floor then.
Okay.
I make a motion to hire one.
Okay, Mr. Treecost motion is not to hire a resource generalist, correct? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
No. Mr. Hinkle's motion is to hire a human resource generalist.
Consider hiring one. or however you want to say it.
Consider, okay, consider hiring. But I want it, I'm just gonna say, I want it to include exactly what our attorney said. All the various,
I'm not saying it can't. I'm just asking the attorney
Because-
that it's. Think he understands that our HR issues or what needs to be done. It would probably take a few months to bring that. Ship to sale correctly, considering we have none.
Well, my thought is you don't know what's out there until you ask, and you
Yep.
may as well put it in the description
Well,
and have a discussion.
I think it is in the description to us in a sense.
okay. So that's what I would like to see. That's all I want to put that out there because that's
That's fine with me.
all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Madam President, I apologize. I'm going to excuse myself.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Treecost is leaving the building.
And
Okay, number 18, review, discuss, consider awarding the demolitions for the commission.
So we have a list of 16 houses to demo. And we felt that it would be easier to split it up into two different groups. So we have Group A and Group B. And we put that out to bid, and the lowest bidder was Hoffman Excavating for both of them. And they are under the impression that they do need to be done, totally finished by mid-June. And they do know this, and they are working towards that.
These are not DEP.
They are not DEP. This is commission money. This is county money, and liens will be put on these properties.
When you go to B, is that county money?
When we what?
You go to the next one, 68,000.
That is correct. Okay.
Correct.
Both these are county money. Why did we break them up?
Because of the time frame, we were wanting to get it done before mid-June, before the end of the fiscal year.
Because we have the money in the budget to do this.
Yes.
And the goal was to split them up, so we made sure that they were done for this fiscal year. It happened to be that the same company is the lowest bid for both, and they understand that all of them have to be taken down within a certain time period because of fiscal year and this year's budget.
So these are both, A and B will be done by the end of June.
Yes. And the Ellis property, the restaurant, is on this list, and they have been told that this is absolutely the last thing to be taken down. Chicken Farm Road, that's in Wilsonburg.
First, I was right the first time. I was thinking Chicken Inn.
Sounds like Chicken Farm Road's bad shape.
It is in very bad shape.
Doing three demo. Move to approve 18 demolition. A structures for 94,900. And demolition of 8 B structures for 68,000 more.
Okay.
And they'll be done by the end.
Okay. Motion is to approve 18, the demolition. The first set for 94,900 to Hoffman Excavating. And the second group also to Hoffman Excavating for 68,400. Is that correct? To be done by July 1?
Yes.
How about June 30?
I've told him mid-June.
Okay.
So.
They do have to be done by mid-June. We'd have the invoice and.
Yes.
Okay. All in,
And what's the basic? For review? What one out of downtown, what done by?
I believe we told them June 15th.
Okay, June 15th.
okay. June 15th, then the motion. Okay. Anything else? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion carried. Thank you, Charlotte. Number 19, review, discuss, consider having $150,000 threshold for the following items. A, lease agreement, and B, SBITA, whatever that is. Here we go again. How's the public know what that is?
So they right under it, subscription-based information technology agreements. So the lease agreements is per GASB 87, and the subscription-based information technology agreements are per GASB 96. These are two laws that were passed that affect like what Erica does with a financial statement. Because our county is so large and the size that we have, the auditor looked at our different assets we have and has made the recommendation that we set $150,000 threshold. It doesn't mean that our leases are not tracked because they are through expenditures, but this means that any lease agreements above 150,000 then go on our financial statement on the asset list. And
Pushing the 150 right now.
I'm sorry, what?
Who's pushing 150 for an agreement, or is this all the agreements? This threshold?
So the threshold is for all lease agreements and then all information technology agreements to go on that asset list.
This is just to change the reporting requirements.
Yes, this is one, so we don't miss anything, a small lease agreement, and if we don't have it on our asset list and then we get deemed for it audit wise.
Because we did. Because we did.
We did, and then just with the county our size, that they recommend we have it at 150.
Was this just part of the exit interview with the auditor recommendation?
This is, and so we verbally talked about it, and this is what they would like to see, but we also, I mean, they're our auditor who comes back and we'll know, but if it's another auditor that happens to audit us, they want it part of meeting minutes and for commission to agree upon this, so we don't get dinged on it.
I'm okay with approving A and B, but I've got a caveat to add, Susan, and if you want to talk about it, but I think that for all these lease agreements on license we have, we need a breakdown of what elected official has what department has what, how many licenses we've agreed to. We need a audit of what we have and whether or not we're spending money that we don't need. And if I'm gonna agree to a threshold, I'd like to have a internal audit trail that covers every department and elected official license so that we know what we're paying for.
I think that's fair. Okay, so the motion is to approve and to get an audit of the licensing that we currently have, correct?
Yes, ma'am. From all elected officials and departments.
From all elected officials and departments. Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 20, review, discuss, consider Raleigh Jackson Neal Estate update.
Madam President, I do have paperwork where they did file the paperwork that they were supposed to. The affidavit and waiver financial statement has been filed in the county clerk's office.
I need to talk to you about another.
So can we do anything until they get us the paperwork with this? Estate? I mean, we've asked and they were.
But they did,
settle
they
it.
sent
I think
it.
that, yeah, they
They
did.
filed.
Everything's done, the estate.
Sounds like it's closing.
So it's closing.
Yeah, they filed the final waiver, they trusted you all directly.
Okay, so there's really nothing for us to do here other than say. about
Good
that.
job.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Well, this was
Okay, so there's no action to be taken on number 20. 21, review, discuss, consider general order to administratively close delinquent or unprogressed estates.
move to approve general order to administratively close delinquent or unprogressed estates.
Which are attached to the order, correct? That's what I'm looking at now. Motion to approve general order to administratively close delinquent or unprogressed estates as attached to the order. Do you don't mind if I add that in there?
No,
Okay.
and then for whoever needs to sign it.
And fix the appropriate signatures. I think
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
all of us. I think. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None, motion carried. 22, review, discuss, consider awarding bid for employee handbook. We have 4. I assume we have 4 bids.
We have 4 companies that
Were you interviewed or?
submitted bids and we've interviewed the different companies. The one that I would recommend is CPS HR Consulting. They were very impressive in their interview. They actually did some background work on us and was mentioning different things of different elected offices and everything else, was asking questions. They're very thorough. They have some experience, well, they have a lot of experience in HR handbooks.
Are they from West Virginia?
They are not.
See, that's where I have a little because they feel familiar with West Virginia law, employment law? Are they gonna be able to?
They assured us that they'll make sure that everything with West Virginia law is in par, up to standards.
You're talking about CPS.
Correct.
The only thing I can say is, yeah, I sat and listened to them. They basically saying it's up to Trey to either agree or disagree, but they said employment law pretty much state to state's not like way out there. It's especially the biggest issue is whether or not we're doing federal law right. They did research and they knew everything about how our deputies worked and a whole lot of things about how government worked during the interview. And they're presently doing Allegheny County in
What's the cost?
Pennsylvania.
19,500.
I mean, that's my only.
So they all ran pretty close to
I'm
the
not gonna put a
same.
cog in the wheel, but just hope what they're telling you is right. Because there were some from West Virginia, right?
There was one from West Virginia.
Just saying.
Okay. I'm ready for whatever's next.
I make a motion to award the bid to CPS HR Consulting.
Motion to award the bid to CPS HR Consulting. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. 23, review, discuss, consider where to transfer the $50,000 settlement check. A budget revision is required. Well, what's the 50,000 settlement check for?
So we
This is my
received
first
a
question.
settlement check for Lipitor for $50,000. And with that, I was not aware until I was sent an email that we are to do a budget revision this fiscal year and put it somewhere in our budget. Well,
It doesn't matter where, there's no specifications.
wherever we want. There's no specifications on this $50,000 check. It just has to be accounted for in this fiscal year, which means we're going to have to do a budget revision that goes to the state auditor's office. So I want clarification so I can have it on next week's agenda since towards the end of the fiscal year.
Do you have any recommendations?
My recommendation.
I know you do.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, no, my recommendation is whatever we think that we were gonna spend $50,000 on next year. Out of that budget, that we just go ahead this year because we're forced to spend it this year because it's part of our budget. I don't think they're allowing us as a carryover. I think
They wanted us to deposit in this year's budget and make the adjustment, which is sort of
Well,
surprising to me.
where would that be?
I'll look at the budget for, that we have for next year.
Just
and
give
then
it to
we'll have
her
that.
to do. Her.
can, or like I said, I just don't know for something that we, without seeing the budget. But, yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with just making the decision.
I mean, giving her the,
We'll
because
find a
without looking at it, we
project
can't really say today unless we just pick one.
And we need to do this because we don't have a meeting coming up before, oh, no, we do.
Plenty of-
Yeah,
So we'll have to have a budget revision for the state auditor's office on the May 19th agenda. That way it has time to get down there and get processed.
well, so
and
she can bring it back at the next
Yeah.
meeting, bring back next meeting and give us a couple options.
So we don't really need to take in just,
Mm-mm.
so you know what we're doing on that one.
Yes.
You got it, John? Number 24, review, discuss, consider hiring a CPA firm to perform rebate calculations on bonds, Series 2020 Building Commission bonds, B Series 2008 A and B TIF bonds, C 2019 A and B TIF bonds for 2019, and D Series 2021 A TIF bonds.
So Madam President, this stemmed from, we received an email from West Banco, who has the bonds that we process them through for this building, to let us know that we had a courtesy reminder regarding the potential arbitrage calculation that would be due to them. I believe it was come October. So with that, reached out to Tommy Amon to try to find out more information.
Need to put that back on.
And, so he got us the name of someone who does this kind of work. Recommended not only to do our,
I know, that's why I was.
Yeah, we're sorry.
not only 2020 bonds, but the, BEC and KISS.
So do we need to direct somebody to do this? Is that what we're doing?
Just, agreed to hire the CPA firm to perform the rebate calculation.
Okay, and Tommy has recommended somebody?
Tommy has, yes, we got the
Okay.
information from.
Okay. I was listening.
I know, you always do.
No, not always. I'm not gonna lie, I can't tell why.
Want to read all 24 again, or I'm just gonna make a motion to approve
No,
agenda item 24 on hiring a CPA firm
A
for
through
rebate
D.
calculations A through D.
Okay. Motion is to approve the CPA firm as recommended by Mr. Raymond for A through D. How's that? Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, number 25. Review, discuss, consider sheriff's request to transfer funds on following line items.
Madam President, I recuse myself as previously stated.
Okay.
And then there was one.
I think I've been down this road before. So I don't believe there's anything that can happen on 25. So we will move on to 26.
Thank you.
26, review, discuss, consider approving agreement granting a temporary construction easement to the city of Clarksburg for the purpose of repairing and upgrading portions of the rail trail. Clarksburg has received a grant which will be used for resurfacing and drainage upgrades between Camden Street, and Oddfellows Cemetery. Potential executive session pursuant to 69A4B9 to consider matters involving or affecting the purchase, sale, or lease of property, advanced construction planning, the investment of public funds, or other matters involving commercial competition, which if made public might adversely affect the financial or other interests of the state or any political party.
So Clarksburg wants to go in behind, it's just down from Wendy's along the river. And they have money to fix the rail trail. The county has the lease there. And we're just giving them permission to go in and fix, and they have to bring it back to what it is today.
And they're gonna take it clear to Camden.
Yes, if you go, it's, what is it, Wendy's, Beverage.
So they can get through Beverly. They're able, they
Get
got,
through Beverage.
Well,
Part of it's fenced.
the road actually goes all the way to the rail trail. I don't know if they're working out the line or if they're coming down.
because that was always the clog in the
Through.
wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah, Beverage is the cog in the wheel in terms, I'm just trying to describe where the property is.
We have
Just start-
pictures that show the fence is like in the middle of the rail trail. So they're doing from Wendy's down to the cemetery.
They're not doing Beverage. I was just going through in my
Okay.
mind to walk my way back.
Because the odd fella is,
The cemetery.
That's right. It's close.
It's closer to town.
It is closer to town. Yes.
Okay.
But this is just to allow them to complete work and upgrades on the trail.
So they presented their plans to smack myself for this, to our rail trail engineer of record to make sure what they're doing is correct.
I don't know if they've talked with Mr. Miller. No, this is Clarksburg doing the engineering and doing the work and paying to do the work. My concern here was just that if they did something which caused a slip in the future, that they would have to bring it back to
Right.
standard, and they finally agreed to that language after going back and forth with their attorney.
Okay, can.
Should we make it pending?
I think they
With
ought
our
to,
builders?
I think they should submit to, because under our lease agreement, we're required from the state rail authority to maintain and keep the trail to the specifications when they gave it to us. Now, pictures I've seen down that way, we might have not done a very good job of that, but we did go down and take pictures of the trail. So we do have pictures. I just don't know if that's what we want to put back. Because the pictures are pretty bad. You see those, Sue?
Oh, but I've
So
seen
I
it
haven't
down
seen
there
their
too.
engineering, but
I mean, is that, I'm just asking if we're,
so I would approve it and request copies of their engineering
okay,
and their, I mean, I think they need to move on it. Clarksburg needs to move on the project because they have money, which they have to invest in the trail. For speaking with Mr. Lane, I believe that's the case.
motion to approve agreement. Is it considered? I guess well, I know we're granting a temporary construction easement. And that would just be to come and go to get to the trail, correct?
No, the easement agreement includes the right to maintain, inspect, repair, or replace the rail trail system on the portion which we've been talking about.
Okay,
It's a construction easement agreement.
okay. Move to approve the temporary construction easement to the city of Clarksburg for the purpose of repairing and upgrading portions of the Harrison County Rail Trail System. And that they supply engineering information to the county so that we can look it over.
Okay, the motion is to approve the granting of a temporary construction easement to the city of Clarksburg for the purpose of repairing and upgrading portions of the rail trail and supply us with engineering. Correct?
Yep, for,
Information.
and for the president to sign the agreement
And for
and
the,
make sure it's, it's the Harrison Rail Trail. Or Harrison County Rail Trail.
and to affix the president's signature.
Yes, ma'am.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None, motion carried. 27, review, discuss, consider 911 advisory board appointees. Ron Woods, Chief. 12, okay, now I get a 2-year term. Walter Knight, Chief 3, for a 3-year term. And the dates are there.
I only have one question. If they're not chiefs, they maintain their appointment. I don't know the rules of,
Are these our appointments? I mean, if they're,
So
the
these-
chiefs of police have an appointment?
So this is the Fire Chiefs Association, has 2 appointments to the 911 advisory.
This is
board.
their recommendation,
This is
the Chiefs Association.
Fire Chiefs Association
that's-
picks for the advisory.
so. Trey, my question to you is, can I make the motion without calling them Chief 12 or Chief 3 that I'm actually appointing the individual and not the fire chief? That's my question.
I don't know under the
I think
911
I think they,
advisory board if there are requirements that they have chief status, so to speak, or not. I don't know the answer to that.
That's my question, because it's
Never
a
had
2-year
that
and 3-year
question.
appointment.
I mean, if you Do you want him to be the fire chief or they lose their seat?
I don't know if they're just an advisory board appointee and they're recommended, I'd just say Ron Woods and Walter Knight. I'm not gonna say they gotta be the chief at 12 or 3 to
I
have that
think
appointment.
they,
If
I
they
don't-
do, then I think when you stretch them out for 3 years like that, then you're telling them that the next guy that says he's chief, is he the board appointee? That's my only
I would
question.
appoint the individuals.
Huh?
I would just appoint.
but then
the
what happens if
individuals.
they don't become chief?
And
it's
we'll
chief.
have to check the,
Should we hold off on this?
So with this, this is, the Fire Chief Association, they're appointees, so they're appointing Ron Woods, Walter Knight. So let's say Ron Woods would leave and the fire chief.
It would be the new
could-
chief.
Could choose to keep Ron Woods on, or they can vote on their board to replace Ron Woods with someone else. It would be their choice because they're the ones who's appointing. to the board.
Okay.
Well, then I want to approve Chief 12 for 2 years and Chief 3 for 3 years. And whoever the chief is shows up.
Okay.
Just, I mean, I don't know any other way to do it, that this can always change.
Okay.
So motion to approve 911 advisory board appointees. Chief 12 for a 2-year term and Chief 3 for a 3-year term.
Are they different?
Mhm.
Okay, motion to appoint Chief 12 and Chief 3 to the 911 Advisory Board. Or, well, Chief 12 is for a 2-year term and Chief 3 is for a 3-year term. Sorry, I messed that up. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 28, review, discuss, consider resolution authorizing the application for fiscal year 2023 Emergency Management Performance Grant.
Hi, good afternoon. This item agenda is for reimbursement of invoices for fiscal year 23 for emergency management totaling around $91,000. Including payroll.
How much was that?
90,
It was, the resolution states $91,514.
Big bug. Move to approve resolution authorizing the application for FY 2023 emergency management performance grant and for the proper people to affix their signatures.
motion to approve the resolution authorizing the filing of the application, and I'm wrong. Yes, fiscal year 2023 Emergency Management Performance Grant and affix the appropriate signature. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? None, motion carried. Number 29, review, discuss, consider a resolution authorizing the filing of the application for U.S. Senator Shelley Moore Capito's fiscal year 2026 congressionally directed spending appropriated through the Department of Justice for A, 30 Axon in-car cameras, B, 150 countywide state interoperable radio network radios for county volunteer fire departments, and C, the Harrison County Quiet Dell School Civilian Conservation Building, and D, Save America's Treasures Program for the Harrison County Courthouse elevator. And we are doing that as well. Number 30 for
Senator Justice, correct. Yes, at our last meeting, we discussed congressional directed spending through Riley Moore's office and with deadlines for Senator Capito, as well as commission deadlines for our meetings. We had spoken about that it needed to be a separate line item on an agenda. So it is here for today's, and it is as stated. For Senator Capito as well as Senator Justice. Senator Capito's was due on April 22nd and Senator Justice was Friday, April 25th.
Move to approve a resolution authorize the filing of application for U.S. Senator Shelley Moore Capito and Senator Jim Justice's Fiscal year 2026 congressional direct spending appropriated through the Department of Justice for item A, B, C, and D.
Motion to approve the resolution authorizing the filing of the application for Senator Shelley Moore Capito and Senator Jim Justice's fiscal year 2026 congressionally directed spending appropriations through Department of Justice. And affix the appropriate signatures, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None motion carried. Number 31, review, discuss, consider a resolution authorizing the filing of the application to the West Virginia Court Security Fund.
Yes, this grant through the Court Security Fund is asking for radios, bullet cameras, and replacing the intercom system on the 4th floor for 2 of the judges, as well as window glazing, or as commonly known as safety and security film on the outside windows. This request is asking for $190,099 worth of those items.
How much?
It was $190,099.
190.
$190,000.
No, I mean, I was just that.
A lot of
Last time we requested that kind of money from the. Yeah, when she broke the 100,000, I was like, normally it's a 25.
Mhm.
50.
Well, I made a phone call because I wasn't sure on some of the items, and she said, just go ahead and list everything out and the committee will pick and choose. You know, they may approve the whole thing, they may pick some out of it.
Okay.
So
Mhm.
we may
Just-
or may not get it all, but we probably will get some.
Okay, that's just the
And-
number caught me off guard.
That's
There's
2
no-
numbers of coin.
No match,
Yeah,
no match.
no match, yeah, okay.
That's even better.
Yeah. Move to approve resolution authorizing the filing of application to the West Virginia Court Security Fund. And the appropriate signatures to be affixed.
Motion to approve the resolution authorizing the filing of the application to the West Virginia Court Security Fund and to affix the necessary signatures. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carried. Thank you, girls. Number 32, review, discuss, consider FMLA and leave request for Darlene Swagger.
Ask. I'm just asking.
That's what we're gonna find out in the future.
It is.
I mean, I'm just saying it's kind of a, huh? But. Okay, I move to approve FMLA and leave request for Darlene Swagger.
Motion to approve the FMLA leave request for Darlene Swagger. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? None, motion carried. Number 33, review, discuss, consider travel requests for 911 employees to go to 4 Points by Sheraton, Charleston, West Virginia on June 22nd through the 26th for the West Virginia 988 and Crisis Intervention Team Summit for Heather Mick, Megan Rowan, and Lindsay Atha.
Move to approve travel requests for 911 employees A, B, and C.
Motion to approve requests to travel for 911 employees A, B, and C. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? None, motion carried. Number 34, review, discuss, consider travel requests for 911 employees to go to West Virginia Northern Community College, New Martinsville campus on May 28th for the APCO Cybersecurity Fundamentals for the Emergency Communications Center class A through E.
Move to approve travel requests for 911 employees A through E.
Motion to approve 911 travel requests for 911 employees A through E. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None, motion carried.
Nothing, Madam
You
President.
don't have anything? Mr. Hinkle?
Oh, man.
Me either.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any, oh my goodness.
I'm still